Howdy folks, welcome back to Straight Russ. It is about a week later since we did part one on the intake manifold and the carb. It's been a long, arduous snow and ice and temperatures down to like 0 degrees in Northwest Arkansas. That's horrendous for us. Average temp is 40 to 50 degrees. So anyway, what's going on? Let me get you over here. You guys know that we are working on the 383 and the 68 Chrysler. Where we stopped last time, we have the intake installed. We are going to be putting this Edelbrock 1407 to 750. Everybody can scream, it's too much. That's okay, that was my choice. We're replacing this 2-barrel. What have I done since we last met? Well, I've got the distributor back in. You can see that. I've got the coil, which is causing me problems with the air breather. We'll talk about that a little later. You can see in the back here, let me lean over here. I put in a new, that's the shortest one I could find. That's a new ground wire, because the ground wire, not that it really matters because it's a ground wire, but it's pretty ate up. So that's what I had locally. That's what I could find. And that's what I did. So it'll work. Okay. The biggest issue that we have going on, when you have that 2-barrel sitting on here, it's like this wide. So when you put on the Edelbrock 4-barrel, and then you put on an extension, you've moved everything over from a linkage standpoint. If you look at my first video, you'll see that this, for the throttle cable, this is all the way over like a 90-degree angle. Now it's up and canted, and I actually cut it, welded it, and I primed it. It's a booger weld, but it's a good weld. It's very tight, very good, to move it forward so that it fits in here properly, so that everything works properly, so that the throttle, the throttles are closed where it's supposed to be. I've fitted it and things of that nature. I think we got a good working solution here. And the other main thing is the kickdown here. You know, it can't interfere with that. You can see right now, this pretty dang redneck right here. But for now, I took one of these. You can see there's a piece of wire around this bolt, and I did a wire tie to pull over this throttle cable so it's not interfering with the kickdown. Okay, that'll just have to work for now. I understand that they make a bracket for big block 4-barrel. I'll have to look into that, but right now I got to get this car out of this garage. Let's see, what else did I do here? I got the correct grommet right here for the positive crankcase ventilation, the PCV. I've got that hooked up. We're going to run it to the front for now, because over here, once again on the carburetor, that's where it's made, but I can cap that off and run it to the back. I think it'll look cleaner and everything, and that's what we'll do later. Right now, get it started, get it out of the garage. As far as the, let's see, numbers here. This Dorman, this is a 42064. That grommet fit very, very nicely in here. It's a good, tight, solid fit. That worked real well. Let's see what I did. I ran that new hose, and then you've got your vacuum line. I trimmed it up and cut it. We've got the vacuum line for the brake booster, and then this is the vacuum line that goes inside that handles your heater controls and everything of that nature. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get the camera set up here, and we're gonna tweak on this a little bit. I'm actually going to take this off. I've just got it mocked up. I'm going to take it off and show y'all how to install that and things of that nature. And then we'll get the last stud. I want to show you how to do a stud. And then we'll get all of this and that in here, and we'll get it running. Be right back. All right, folks, we're going to get this rocking here. First of all, the adapter for Mopar for Edelbrock, This will work with the, I know with the 1407s and the 1406s, the 600 and the 750 CFMs. But anyway, part number 1481. Ordered offline, it's a heck of a lot cheaper, like Amazon and things of that nature. So what it is, here it is. This is the mechanism. So basically we're going to be bolting this onto this, and it's pretty dang simple. But the question, why do we have to do that? That's the question. Well, let's look over here. Okay, this is your main throttle lever here. We're going to take this off. Utilize this. If you could even get that to work on here, you've moved everything forward and you've totally messed up the throttle, the kick down, everything of that nature. And we'll come back to that. That's what this is made for. So what you're going to do, it's pretty dang simple. You can see there's a big hole and a little hole. Let me get something to set up under there. Let's try this right here. Make sure y'all can see that good. Very important. Yep. Okay. So you've got a little hole and you got a big hole. You got a little bolt and you got a big bolt. So we're going to start at the top. We're going to go ahead and put this. These are 5/16. We're going to go ahead and get that in there. It's not overly difficult unless you're blind like me. Anyway, and once again, big hole, little hole. We're going to do the little hole. Got a little lock washer there. And we're going to get this started. I know you can't see what I'm doing because my fingers are in the way, but you get the gist there, okay? Then we're going to take the bigger bolt, which is a 7/16, and we're going to do the same thing. Oh, I got it too tight. There we go. And it's going to go in the bottom. So we put it in the bottom. And there you have it. Come on. Okay, that's 7/16. So we're going to go ahead and get this on here. If you watch the first part of part one of this video, you know I'm notorious for breaking stuff off. So you don't have to crank this super tight. Just be tight enough where it's not going to come apart. I don't need to be welding any bolts. Okay, that's pretty tight. So we're done there. Now the 5/16. There you go. There you go. Now, that wasn't too terribly difficult. Let's get rid of some of these tools. Okay, now, I don't know what you call this thing. It's like, you know, the throttle hooker upper thing. So anyway, it's going to go in here like that. That's the OEM one. And I think this is a 1/2 inch on the outside and 7/16 on the inside. Now I would note when you put this in, if you can see this little hole right here where you have to, this is where your throttle cable is going to go on. You want to be able to put a pin in there. It's easier for the visually impaired like me to see that hole from the top down, and that's what I did. So let's just 7/16, 1/2 inch. There you go. All right, so we are ready to get this over to the car and get it put on. So let me get the camera. You know what? I'm just gonna do it right here. Let's just swap right around here. Actually, get you in here. I want to get you a better view here. Be right back. All right, hope you got a good shot there. Let's go ahead and get the gasket on. Oh, got to back up a second here. I want to show you how to do something real quick. These are 7/16. Okay. Actually, they're 1/2 inch. Okay. So when you're putting in the carb studs, remember this is not a steel intake. Remember when I broke this off in part one, steel and steel? well, you'll strip this out in a heartbeat. Doesn't have to be that tight. You'll see, let me show you the stud here. You get 4 of these in a package. You see how you have threads on the longer section of threads here, shorter here? The short side goes down into the intake. And that's what we've done here. Now, how do you get these things tight? Well, you could do the 16-year-old thing and get a pair of pliers and screw up your threads and screw it in, or you can apply a little wisdom. And I actually saw this. I watched Revstoration. They were doing that 58 Ford, and I saw him doing this last night. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. I do that too. What we're going to do is we're going to lock these nuts. You put 2 nuts on there, lock them down so they're tight. Then you can just thread that down in there until it's snug. Okay, you don't need it super tight because the base of the carb is going to be in here and you're going to be locking it down on there. Okay, you don't need it to be super tight. And plus you'll have a washer on there pressing it down, so it'll be pulling against each other. You won't have a problem there. All right, so that's simple. Okay, now ideally when you're doing this, you might want to throw a rag over the intake opening, because the way things been going for me, for my Providence, oh, are you bleeding that? Oh, whew. See, I could have dropped it down there. I could have dropped it into a heat riser on the other side. Then I'll be fishing it out with a magnet. Okay, let's get the, let's get this gasket on here. Let's see. Okay. Now, I don't think these gaskets, believe it or not, they won't fit that way. See, the holes aren't lined up. They are oriented. They're a little shorter, a little narrower than longer on this intake. There you go. I did clean up the surfaces and everything. Now let's set the carb on. All right. Now I do have the coil here pre-positioned. And we're just gonna set this right down on here. It never works perfect. Just jiggle it. Jiggle it, he said. He said jiggle it. There we go. All right. Now, we have got the, here's what you've got. You definitely always want to use a washer. You don't want this nut digging into the base of that carburetor, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get these started on here. Okay. I'm going to do this back one because I know it's kind of a tight fit. I know you can't see anything. Okay, that one's down. We'll do this back one over here. Thank y'all for watching too, by the way. I appreciate it. You know, when you're working and you're serving in ministry and you have a family that you have to prioritize, it's often difficult to find time to get out and do this. You know, my hobbies are not my #1 priority. I've talked to y'all about that before. My God and my family, and right now my career, are the priority. So I do this when I have time. Try to get some good video for you when I do it. Okay, 1/2 inch. Now, a little common sense here. Just like when you do a tire, you're doing a star pattern. I like to tighten one corner, go the other corner, then back and forth. Okay. And I'll just get it snugged down, and then I'll turn to the other one. Absolutely not rocket science here. Boy, it looks good sitting on there though, doesn't it? Okay. We'll go over here. I'm going to need the socket for that one. We'll go ahead, and I got everything out over here this time. Probably just could have used this for all of them. That one's tight now. Kind of a tight fit for a socket in that hole there, but it'll go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that down. That's good. Come back over here, that's good. Come back over here, that's good. And one more in the back. Okay. You know, one thing I didn't talk about was the idle mixer screws. And the concept here, and let me just go ahead and do it. Let me get a screwdriver and show you. Make sure y'all can see it okay, what I'm fixing to do. I think you can. So you got two idle mixer screws right here and here. Typically what you do with a new carb, you run it all the way down. You don't want to just until it gets snug like that, and you're gonna bring it out 2 full turns. So there's a half a turn, there's 1, 1.5, 2. That's usually enough fuel. If you're gonna be too rich, I can almost guarantee it, but it'll make sure there's fuel in there so you can get it started. Okay, all right, there we go. So we're gonna go half, 1, 1.5, and we'll go 2. We'll start right there. Now, here's the vacuum for your advance, right here. And we're gonna go ahead and hook it up for now. I'm gonna put it too tight because I'll need to pull it off. Then here's what's coming from the PCV. Gotta have that positive crank ventilation. Goes on right there. And you can see how this runs here. It'd be so much nicer. It would be so much nicer. That's kind of kinked there a little bit. I don't like that. I may shorten that up a little bit, but we'll look at it. I'd like to run it right here and have a 90 in the back, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Just be a straight shot. But now this is your manifold vacuum on Edelbrock. So we're going to take just a little cap. If you buy them on Amazon, you can buy the package for like $1.99. If you buy them locally, it's going to cost you $6.99 for the package of various sizes. So, and I tell you what, little secret, Hot Rod Power Tour done bought my ticket. So the week of June 10th, you always take some of these with you. If you don't need them, somebody will. So there you go. So we got that all hooked up. The vacuum to the inside is hooked up. And I need to replace this hose, and I'll do that later. But this is hooked up. So all of our vacuum is done. I don't have the choke hooked up. It's not going to be hooked up for this. I got to get this thing out of the garage. I don't know if I mentioned it. I've got my middle son, his F-150 is broke bad. I'm talking bad. And I got to dig into the engine and see if it's worth saving. But the rule is I can do whatever I want in the garage as long as my honeydew can park her car in the garage at night. And she didn't get to do that last night. And that means I got to go out and warm it up for her and everything. I'm going to get this car out of here tonight, get a tarp over it, and get that car back in here. Then we'll get to work on my son's F-150. Then when it warms up, we're going to get out on that F-250 and get that rocking. All right, now let's talk about mechanisms. First of all, I'm going to show you something here. I always promote, you know, if you're going to work on a series of a vehicle, Rock Auto, this is a reproduction. It's about 35, 40 bucks. It's gold. Okay, that's all I got to say. Here is a picture of the throttle linkage and everything. If you forget, as I've mentioned to y'all before, I'm adamant. I took a lot of pictures. Okay, so let's get in here and hook up this this throttle linkage. Now, first of all, we're going to hook up, and you see what the adapter does for us. See how far forward that is? No way that's going to fit. But I've got it set up now where it goes right on here. I'm going to put my pin in. Kind of lock that in place. That way it won't come off. Then we've got our throttle spring, which because we've got the distance about the same, this spring actually works very, very nicely. we're not really going to know if it's really good until we put this engine under power. Now, the key thing is, on this whole setup here, the way I did it, is when you can't see in here, but when this comes forward, this throttle body's got to be all the way closed, and it is. It won't physically come forward anymore. Okay, so we're solid. Now, kick down. Let's talk about kick down. This be the kick down. Probably looks very familiar to some of you Mopar people. By the way, I'm not a Mopar person. I'm a car person. I've got Fords. I've been saying the next engine I work on, I want to do a 350 small block because parts are so cheap. Anyway, the way this is originally supposed to go is that your kick down goes in here. No, actually the kick down goes in, it goes this way. Let me go check the manual real quick in that picture so I'm not. All right, look like my SD card locked up or something. So we're back. So anyway, this is supposed to come in this way. Okay, the problem is, and I'll show you, is that there's no way that that's going to fit. It's going to jam everything up. It's going to be too far in here because of the way that this is bent and everything. Now, I could have taken a hammer and beat the snot out of it, but I don't think that's going to solve the problem. So, in my infinite wisdom, and because this is all I have right now until I get a new bracket, we're putting it in this way. And it fits on there. Now, I can't screw this out any further. Once again, I could have beat the heck out of that thing and extended it a little bit. But what I'll wind up doing, I'll put a bolt in here for now that'll take up that slack. You're supposed to have this right up against this when it's in its forwardmost position. Okay, so this is your kick down spring, and if you don't take pictures or if you lose this thing, you're gonna it's a tough one. That's a very unique spring, and you can see that this has got a hook on the end. That hook is going to go through the hole. Let me show you. It's going to go through the hole in the back of this kick down rod, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And it's at a certain angle where it drives you crazy, number one, but number two, it won't come out when you hit a bump or something like that. There you go. It's in. Well, I thought it was in. Okay, that's in. That's got to stay in that position. And I'm taking it right there. Okay, now, the way that this is designed is the kick down is supposed to be on this side. The spring's supposed to be on this side, but you got two grooves in there. They both work. So what I do from there was what you would have normally done at the inside groove. I put the washer on here. And I put my little, now this thing's tight. Intentionally. There we go. Okay, there you go. So now we've got everything hooked up. Our throttle is working, our pedal's working. Matter of fact, y'all watch that. I'll get in here and hit the pedal. There you go. Okay. It's going to require some adjustment when we get it out on the road, but we're not going to be able. Right now, the goal is get this thing running and finish the project, and then I got to take it outside and tarp it up for a warmer day. This is the vehicle we're taking on Hot Rod Power Tour this year again for the last year, second and last year on this vehicle, because I've got some 355 gears that I'm going to put in this 8 3/4 rear end, but I don't want to do it for the Hot Rod Power Tour because we're going to be driving a lot of highway miles. I think it's, what is it, 292, 297 gears? Stop OEM in here. All right, what we got left? Fuel. Got to have some fuel. Ran into yet another challenge. I'm going to have to get an adapter because this outlet is bigger than my outlet down here for my for my filter and for my fuel pump. So I'm gonna have, this is, what is this, 5/16, and this looks more like 3/8, but you know what? You can make it fit. It's temporary. We're not gonna be out driving continuously with this. This is just to get it started and get the carb tuned. All right. Put a bolt in there, and I didn't want all the fumes in the house, in the garage. All right. A little spittle never hurt anything. All right, come on now. There we go. I told you it'd fit. There we go. All right. Let's get this hose clamp on here. I know it's ugly, but you know what? It's doing the job. And yes, I had to take out the metal fuel line on this 383 that comes up by the alternator. The metal part is designed to come over in the front, like that 2-barrel. That's not going to work. So we'll wind up putting some permanent, maybe some braided wire fuel lines in here. We do have a fuel filter in line down in here. All right, what's next? Well, looks like what's next is we try to start this bad boy. Let's get some power to it. Get that tightened up a bit. Just snug it up. All right, let's talk a little bit about this carb and what we're going to do. Tell you what, I'm going to crack the door first before we do anything, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, folks, we got the door open back there. It is raining, but at least it's above freezing out there. We had a bunch of ice this morning, made it fun. Hey, okay, so look, I went ahead and hooked up the timing light. Gosh, how old am I? 40 years ago, when I was a teenager, this is how we tuned the car. You didn't have this fancy stuff on the back here. And this is a cheap Harbor Freight one, but you can see it's set at 0 right there. So we don't have any advanced degrees on it. And you basically, you know, did your timing mark down there and got it where it was supposed to be. Then you mess with your idle mixture screws. You screw them in till it stumbles, and then you bring it back out. So that's going to be our starting point. Then what we're going to do after that is, because we're all high speed now, we're going to use our vacuum gauge and hook it up and see how close we are. So now when we do our initial timing, we're going to be at idle. And then when we do we'll check our advanced timing. We'll probably bump it up somewhere between 1,500 and 2 grand on the RPM. So tell you what we'll do. This is going to be a dry start. The choke is not hooked up. So, and we have a mechanical fuel pump. So I'm going to let y'all watch, and I'm going to make sure. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this because I don't want to buy a new timing line. Everything else is clear. Tools are clear. I know we got fuel in the tank. Let's go ahead. I got to go get keys. Be right back. Okay, we got keys. Don't you? Look at this trunk key. Love it, love it, love it. I've got a couple sets. The other original ones I'm keeping in case I ever need to cut copies. That's a big old honking key. Anyway, let's see what we got here. I'm just going to crank it over and see what she does. Alright, give her a little gas. choke. I don't have that electric choke hooked up, so don't let her warm up. There you go. She's a runner. Gonna have to let her warm up. Actually, it's already starting to level out a little bit. I'm gonna let it do its own thing. Let's see what the timing says right now. Doesn't matter anyway, so I disconnect the vacuum advance. It's showing probably 14, 15, but that's what the vacuum advance on. I think the sweet spot on this engine, we had it around 10 to 12 on power tour. When you put it, it's 7 degrees before top dead center is what OEM said is the 2 barrel. It never liked it, it never ran good. It was better around 10 or so. So yeah, she's starting to warm up a little bit. Sounds good. It sounds better with dual exhaust. Let her get warmed up a little bit. See if the temp. Yeah, temp hadn't budged. Alright. Let's go ahead and I need to get another tap. We're going to disconnect the vacuum advance, check the timing. Yeah, you're supposed to disconnect it. I use the golf key, always have, probably always will. You need to cap this off to go on a vacuum leak. Now let's see where we're at. Oh, also, half-inch. That's what we use for the distributor. With the AC being off, you got direct access. I've already loosened this up. Maybe moved a little bit. Let's see. Yep, we're a little advanced too much. Let's see. That'll get you in trouble right there. Alright, that's setting on about 10 degrees. Still fumbling around a little bit. Let's, here's that chirping noise. I'm gonna find out what that is. Let's, I like the idle. I'm gonna go ahead and bring the idle up a little bit. Well, went the wrong way. Because I want to hear it stumble. I'm gonna crank it. Woo! You know what? I bet I need to have the vacuum advance on. That didn't do anything, folks. Let's go ahead and put the vacuum advance back up. Take this off. back up. Bring that RPM up a little bit. Let's go ahead and get this vacuum set up. Give me just a minute. Get this vacuum gauge on it. All right, folks. Hit the timing up just a hair. I want you to watch this right here. When I adjust these, you're looking for movement. If I back out, not too bad. Not too bad there. That one's pretty good. This one, see how it's starting to drop it? Yeah, I'm going to back up. Get it in this range here. We're running about 950,000 RPM. Looks pretty good there. I did adjust the timing a little bit without the gun, kind of doing it by ear. So I know I'm yelling, it's loud in here. So what I'm going to do is hook up the timing light again and see where we're at. Where it likes it. Oh, you know what I didn't need? Yeah. 1, 2. about 10 degrees before top dead center. Y'all, make sure y'all can see this. And we're right there on the bottom line of where we need to be. We got to get this thing out and drive it, see what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and get all this stuff taken off, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, we're going to leave it right here for now, sitting there. Like I said, until we get this thing out and drive it, we are not gonna know. We're setting at about 900 RPM, there about. Temps, oh, what's that temp at? Can y'all see that? About 160, not bad. So, y'all remember when we pulled in from Hot Rod Power Tour with this 2-barrel, that this thing was just dogging it. You put it in gear, it died. No acceleration, no power. I went through the entire ignition system, everything was fine. I pulled the carb off. I had rebuilt this carb in another video. Everything seemed to be functional and working good. It turned out we had a vacuum leak right over here on this side. I'd spray brake cleaner or carb cleaner on there and it would rev up. So we're in pretty good shape here. So let's see what's going on. Let me talk to you about the air breather real quick. You know, I got the nice 383 sticker, and I'll get y'all a picture when this is done. But here's the problem. Gonna have to get a spacer. When I test fit this, when I set the carb on here earlier and test fit this, it was a little up. You could use like 2 gaskets on here. I could put 2 gaskets on here and it's set pretty good. Here's the problem. This thing is, look how high, well, you can't really see. This thing is setting too high and it's coming down and hitting this. I saw one guy who had moved the coil over here in this area because the AC was gone. May think about that in the future, but this is not sitting on here well at all. So what I'm gonna have to do is get a spacer to bring this up. And I'm concerned about my height already, but that's what we're going to have to do. So I am going to go ahead and put this on, basically just set it on there to keep moisture out of there. I wonder if I can jimmy this up a little bit. I don't want to do that. Anyway, I'll get this thing put on. I'm going to get this thing out of the garage. So I think we're going to wrap it up on this video. This is part 2. We were successful. We replaced that 2-barrel intake, the cast iron, and the BBD carburetor with an Edelbrock 750 and that retro 7501 Weiand intake. More to come on this vehicle. We've got to get dual exhaust on it now, or we just waste all of our time. Are we going to cam it up before we go to Power Tour? Don't know yet, but definitely dual exhaust. I landed, let me show y'all real quick. Let me show you what I got. Let me show you, let me get the keys. Oh, I got all this junk on the trunk. We can get it moved out of the way. Great thing about having a trunk big enough you could sleep on. Ooh, it is nasty and raining out there and cold. Let's get this out of the way for a minute. And let's get that out of the way. Let's pop this trunk. I'm gonna show you what I got. I picked these up. Guy had well, let me show you. I don't know if you can see these. It's kind of dark. I got me some Flowmaster FX. Got 2 of them. Got another one right over here. Got those for 20 bucks. Guy had bought a truck and did not like how they sounded. He had them in the back of his truck. He said, I said, how much do you want for them? He said 20 bucks. I snagged them. So that's on a budget right there, folks. So we're gonna wrap this up. Would appreciate it if you would subscribe, if you would like, if you would share. It's free to you, and as always, abundantly blesses me. I appreciate y'all watching. It's been kind of crazy the last couple of months. Life is life, and we're going to continue pressing away. I'll never give up cars. I just want to share it with the world. That's what I'm trying to do here. So thank you all very much, and be blessed. We'll see you shortly.